And this is our 100th show, Greg, by the way.
My goodness.
Hello, everyone. This is Luca, Majno. We're here with Frank Gregory Ford. This is our 100th broadcast together. Reason to celebrate. This is a Global News Update on TLBTV, and this is where we bring you complete and backstage up-to-date info as to the developments occurring in our world today. Once again, Greg, looks like we have a good recording this time. Looks like we got a good reception. We're not freezing or...
And congratulations on the show, 100 shows.
Well, it takes two of us, right? That's both of us.
Absolutely. Okay. With my Bill of Rights cup, no less. All
yes.
right.
Why don't you show them that? Go turn it so they can see it.
Okay.
Bill
Everyone
of Rights.
Have a cup like this, just in case, so you can refresh your memories, all right, and realize what has taken place in this country and what our delightful politicians are attempting to destroy. Okay, in every way.
And let's try and get through this in 1 hour.
Absolutely. You're right. Don't let me get on my soapbox about this.
Oh, my God. There's so much to talk about, though. I was just getting dismayed and just discouraged for a bit this afternoon because there's so much. Let me share screens with you. And this is where we have to start, okay? It is the mothers, not the warriors, who create a people and who guide their destiny. This, what you're looking at, is the matriarchal system. It's a system that doesn't believe in war, doesn't believe in aggression. It's actually the polar opposite of what we have today. This is the matriarchal system, and that's how it was in this country. This is the patriarchal system laughing at the Indian, and this is where it started. This is how racism came about. This is a pretty powerful picture, and I guess they're all really proud of being there. The saddest part for me is seeing the kids and the reaction to the kids. That's at least 2 generations right there that you're looking at that just spit on the Indian, that laugh at the Indian, their blankets and their cooking pots, right? And what does the patriarchal system turn out to be? Well, when everyone tells you that you're wrong about Freemasons controlling the world, ask them why Freemason title comes before president title. Interesting. Freemason and first president. I thought that was interesting. This is what, this is the height of the patriarchal system at its best. If you can drink a cup of coffee yards from the body of a schoolgirl that you just executed, you're probably a Zionist. And this is probably one of the harshest pictures to look at that I can think of, but this is where it's leading us. So Greg and I had the great idea to just talk about the Bill of Rights for a bit and to see how things are just being destroyed one after the other. This is what the Bill of Rights looked like after December 15th, 1791. And there's a special article called Article 2 that we want to get into today because, as we are well aware of now, it's being overrun or overruled by gun control. It's taken over, basically, just like all the other ones of the Bill of Rights. Again, this is our Bill of Rights in the way it was, right? And this is the way it looks today. And we can actually go through each one of them, if I can managed to get both on the same screen. So just to talk about what's going on in the world really quickly, a friend of mine put up on social media today, she said, we didn't have this problem 20 years ago and we have the same guns. It's not a gun problem, it's a society problem. And that's exactly where it's going. And if people know what Goering said, scariest thought in some people's minds, including mine, he says, naturally, the common people don't want war. You know, it's like that in every country, you know, even for Germany. That is understood, but the people can always be brought to the bidding of their leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them that they're being attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in every country. And that's basically what we've been doing. William S. Burroughs says it really well. He says, after a shooting spree, which is what we're going to talk about, they always want to take away the guns from the people that didn't do it. I sure as hell wouldn't want to live in a society where only people, allowed guns are police and the military. And I second that. Absolutely. This is apparently the shooter in the latest Florida shooting. And it was said on the news and on media that he was frightful and he was putting up all kinds of aggressive and dangerous and offensive posts, pictures like this one. If you think a picture of an air gun is threatening, I don't find that threatening in the least, but that's just me. They did the same thing in Florida this time with the people coming out exactly the same way. Sandy Hook comes to mind, with the people heavily armed. All you have to do is a little research and you can see the signs coming all over again. Aurora, Orlando, Las Vegas, Sandy Hook, Texas Church, San Bernardino, and Parkland. They must really have an affinity for the AR. Here we have, it happened on the 12th. Oh, no, it happened on the 13th, the 12th, the 13th. I don't even think they're sure when it happened. This is how organized they are. 18 school shootings in 45 days. Florida massacre is only one of the many tragedies in 2018. But if you look at the shootings that they had, they're not really, the other 17 are not really as bad at all as this one here was. You're talking one person getting wounded by another. You're talking one gun accidentally discharging, things like that. It's not really the same, but that's just what media does. Media loves to exaggerate. This woman is recorded outside in an interview. She said there definitely had to be one shooter involved because the shots were also coming from another part of the building. So again, the one shooter theory goes out the window. It's always the same thing with false flag operations. You always have the signs that you can look for. Horrific images, there's drills, similar attack or occur on the same day or in the same area. Witness accounts don't match the official story. There's conflicting evidence all the time that's not repeated in the media. And it's used as an excuse to curtail rights, as we're going to see. False flags. A lot of people are starting to think, hey, this is the government scheme for gun control. And we're back to the beginning of the program when we talked about it. What is a false flag? This is actually a pretty good description of one, derived from the military concept of flying false colors. I didn't know that. False flags are when governments and other organizations carry out covert operations to deliberately blame others for the atrocities in order to mobilize military intervention and prioritize regime change. So here they have other things in mind and they want to terrorize us and keep terrorizing us. This example here is what a false flag is, a horrific staged event blamed on a political enemy and used as a pretext to start a war or enact draconian laws in the name of national security. People are going, draconian, what? What? Draconian? Draconian is an adjective meaning great severity that derives from Draco, who was an Athenian law scribe under whom small offenses had heavy punishments. So if people want to watch David Icke, or if they do watch him, they certainly heard him talk about the Hegelian dialectic, which is problem, reaction, solution. They create the problem, they create the reaction that the people are going to have, and then they create the solution, which is gun control in this case. But then there are the veterans, the older ones, the smartest of them all, that come out and say, hey, there's one good way to stop school shootings. Place 3 armed veterans in every school. There are about, thousands of unemployed, trained veterans that would love to, they'd love to have the job of protecting the children. So that would be an awesome idea. In the news today, I saw this one. It's official. The sky will be sprayed in geoengineering experiment, blocking sun for climate change. And I said to myself, wow, I got to check this one out. And you know what? I'm going to give you a quote from it, from this story right here. Some powerful forces are pushing very, very hard for the ability to spray the skies with aluminum, to modify the weather and to set a precedent where they can spray anything on us. This precedent where we can't identify what's being sprayed on us could usher in a new era of chemical or biological warfare against the citizens. As victims of the U.S.'s long history with experimenting on citizens can attest to, this is a serious possibility. And they tell us to research the Tuskegee syphilis experiments, the spraying of San Francisco, and Operation Sea Spray, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The forces are pushing for spraying, and it's not a mystery. And they've been doing this for a long time. They've been at work on geoengineering for decades. This is interesting. They found at military-industrial complexes affiliate institutions like MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or Harvard, or MITRE Corporation, or Raytheon, and others. If you want to know all about what the system is, it's MIT. And Greg, they spill it out. They just spell it out like I couldn't have said it better. MIT is an academic limb of the military-industrial complex. And I said to myself, yeah, right, not included in this article. They love to throw the words Harvard and MIT around, right? Well, why not speak the truth and tell them exactly what MIT did with those horrific experiments on retarded young boys being fed radioactive oatmeal? Or let's see, there was Vanderbilt University serving a radioactive iron cocktail to over 800 poverty-stricken pregnant women. It's funny how everything's just, it's shown in the media like like they want it to appear, and they don't talk about, what the real thing is and what the real story is, because that's how gullible the people are. So, Greg, I believe I've did my snapshot there. And
okay. By the way, you mentioned Harvard, MIT. Well, I did electronic warfare schooling at Boston, and several of our instructors were from Harvard, MIT. All right. And they were all at the top of their field, specialists in electronic intelligence, collection, intercept, camouflage, the whole bit. Okay. So yes, and funny thing was, somebody called me recently and said, guess who pays the most attention for the government and does a dossier on me? Okay. They actually make money, Harvard and Yale, especially those rascals at Yale, okay, with their skull and bones. They pay a lot of money to just watch little old me. I mean, what is the world coming to when a average guy like me can get such attention? Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, be aware that we're kind of like old alma mater together. Okay. So, and you mentioned a couple of things. Now, one of the things I was wondering is they're talking about a wall between Mexico and America.
Yes.
And there is actually a wall from the Pacific Ocean, 25 yards out in the Pacific Ocean, to the Arizona border.
Right.
Okay, and beyond that, there is quite a rather arduous defense system through the desert to prevent people from going through the Devil's Alley to get into the United States. Very few people actually make it alive. So why don't we take, by the way, that was a picture of a Special Forces operator working in Afghanistan, one of the veteran that you showed. Okay. Yeah, he'd been in the field a while. That's a good-looking beard that he has, kind of like yours. Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
So, but what I think is, hey, we have all of these infantry military posts, with soldiers sitting around, a lot of them doing make work, imaginary, kind of stuff. All right, really doing nothing is what I'm saying. Why don't, instead of we put this multi-billion-dollar business wall up? Okay, that's what it is to control flow of traffic with Mexico and the United States. Why don't we do this? Why not put some of those soldiers to work patrolling on the wall. Okay, it is a wall. All right, and it's a wall made out of metal. Okay, I know because I was providing medical support for the California National Guard when they erected that wall. All the welding, the enormous amount of heavy equipment that was destroyed to put that thing up.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine the cost per mile that that wall cost the American taxpayer and the California taxpayers. It destroyed a bulldozer a week. A massive D8 bulldozer was destroyed every week, cutting the path for that wall. That doesn't exist, according to Donald Trump. It doesn't exist. All right. So why not put soldiers doing what soldiers do? Okay, especially infantry. They walk, all right, and they patrol. It's the critical nature of controlling terra firma, controlling the land, and this brings up something that I said in Iraq. Look, if you don't want to occupy a country like Iraq, which no one listened to me, all right, because if they had, I would have told them about Napoleon trying to occupy Spain, and hence gave us something in perpetuity called guerrilla warfare, as in guerrilla warfare. Okay, that came from Spain, and the guerrilla fighters almost annihilating the French and the French occupation. So I said, when we were in Iraq, let's not occupy anything. Let's do our job and get the hell out of here. Let's declare victory and go home. Okay? Well, there's not much money to be made in something like that. Okay? Look at what we did in Iraq, and look what kind of shape Iraq is in. Look what we did in Afghanistan. Does Afghanistan look stable to anybody that's listening to me? Okay? Or our show, Luca? I don't think it does. All right? I'm like I said, average intelligence, that's me, but I just have to work harder than most people to understand that. Okay?
Yeah.
It isn't stable. Syria is not stable. Okay? Iran is not stable now. Iraq is not stable now. Okay? All of these are former clientele, including Libya, former clientele of our Central Intelligence Agency. They all were paid by the Central Intelligence Agency, all their leaders, and yes, all of their intelligence networks were organized and arranged and structured by the Central Intelligence Agency. Does anybody see a pattern here?
Yeah.
I always have to ask that. And as what do we always say when we make rash, unfounded statements like this, Luca? We tell our listeners, what? Hey,
don't believe us.
Don't believe us. Okay, go check it out. And then, and I was just looking at something here on my coffee cup from a friend. Okay, because we're going to have this show today. The Second Amendment, by the way, is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state.
Okay, don't move. Let's do the first one together. We'll share screens real quick. We'll do it this way. The number, and we're going to show you why they're all scratched out. Okay, the first one, freedom of religion, speech, and the press. Well, they did that in real good, because there's no freedom of religion anymore. You get arrested whenever you want to say anything, and the press is lying, as we know. So you may as well forget that. And that is just crossed out and replaced with occupy. Article 2, as Greg just said, the right to bear arms. Look at that. It's crossed out with gun control. And we can go through every single one of them. Greg, did you want to say something about Article 2 still?
Yes. It's necessary to the security of a free state. All right? Mm-hmm. As in a well-regulated militia, and the right of the people to keep and bear firearms shall not be infringed. Bear arms, excuse me, shall not be infringed. Does that mean anything to you, George W. Bush? Does that mean anything to you, Hillary Clinton? All right. What does that mean to any one of you? All right. Those two imbeciles, and of course, I don't refer to Hillary Clinton as an imbecile. I refer to her as a psychopathic, thieving, lying poltroon. Okay.
Right.
Look that definition up, what that means. And it's not complimentary, Hillary. Okay. So, but what I want to point out is this. It's quite simple. What caused the Civil War, the greatest annihilation of human life in America of all time? What caused the Civil War? All right. It was this amendment, the Second Amendment. All right. Who fought the war? It was all militias. They didn't have a Northern Army and a Southern Army. They had militias from the representing the northern states and militias representing the southern state. All you have to do is look up the obituaries and go to Arlington and see where these people were from. Okay, these soldiers were from. All right, and you'll see militias. Okay, like what we have. And who was fighting in Iraq with me? And I was a member of a militia, or AKA National Guard. Okay, I was there. Everyone else that I saw was there. Okay. Funny thing is the active duty Army was not there. Maybe 20% or 10% or 5%, something like that. But they were all militias, all represented National Guard. Okay. And funny, those people, when we were all coming back, returning to the United States, we were all asked, except, excuse me, I wasn't asked because I was too busy being strapped to a stretcher and tortured at the time. Okay. Can't forget that part. Would you fire on your Native American, your fellow American? Guess what? They all said, yes, we will fire on you. So what kind of protection do you have when your own children are going to shoot you down? Okay. The military tends to, induce that mindset in the young soldier. Okay. Everyone wondered why the Turks were such savage people, and their army was so savage. It's because they treated their soldiers horribly. And it turns out that the number one identifier of a good soldier in the Turkish army was to whether you were willing to eviscerate and cut the guts right out of your parents. Okay, that was a test. And as far as I can tell, very few incidents of that situation right there of being willing to eviscerate your parents in the Turkish army were ever failed. Okay,
right.
So that's what we have here in the U.S. military. And what did we have there? What did we have? We had brother firing on brother.
Right.
You talk about a civil war, there it is. That's the definition right there. A father firing on son. All right. So what part about this stupid, irrelevant Bill of Rights doesn't anyone understand?
Well, it gets worse because the Third Amendment is the housing of soldiers, and that's crossed out by asset forfeiture.
Yes.
We could do this for like, so many shows, but we just want to go through them real quick to show people what's going on. The Fourth Amendment is the protection from unreasonable searches and seizures, and that's replaced with the Patriot Act. And everybody's got to do their own research because we can't spend too much time on this. And probably the most serious one is the protection of right to life, liberty, and property. That's replaced with the National Defense Authorization Act. That's the NDAA. People should look that up, and you can see this is how they've been doing it. And it takes a long time to put in place, but this was done definitely against us and to protect them. Rights of accused persons in criminal cases, Amendment number 6, indefinite detention. indefinite detention. They can put somebody away and lock them in there and throw the key away if they want. Rights in civil cases, military tribunal. And, you know, we really encourage people to look at that themselves. Amendment number 8, excessive bails, fines, and punishments forbidden. They said, no, sorry, you know, enhanced interrogation. Amendment number 9, other rights kept by the people. Sorry, judicial activism. It's crazy. You know, they have an answer for everything. Now, Amendment 10, finally, undelegated powers kept by the states and the people. Federal supremacy. In other words, federal wins every time. It's coming to the point where we'll have nothing to say, and we'll just be sheep.
You know, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Amendment number 8, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, gee, we better get rid of that one quick, because you know what the New Jersey District Attorney did? First thing, they sealed, they seized all the product that the Kennesense Corporation had. That was all licensed package. They seized it. It's still in their custody. And they said they seized it specifically to remove the ability of the CEO to defend himself in court. As in, you know how compassionate lawyers are, okay? You know, with their $500 an hour, mm-hmm. All right? Well, that's what they wanted to do with this product, $1 million worth of product that was prepackaged, ready to go to their patients that were on doctor-prescribed medication lists, all right? And the DA sees that. They haven't even mentioned returning it to the company, the corporation that was using it. Yeah, that's what they do. They wanted to, you know, take advantage of all these drug interactions, crimes, and so forth, or whatever else they were, purported to be, and put it into their own bank accounts. Right now, there's several police departments, guess what, that would love to bust somebody with a big satchel of marijuana, whatever, cocaine, whatever, and you think that is returned to the people that paid for this whole process? No. Right. It's returned to the departments that want to send their people on skiing vacations to Aspen and wherever else, all right?
And there's always a little bit smaller amount of the drugs by the time it comes to the trial date than there was when they got it. But
yes. That's right. Why is that? Okay. So what we have here, folks, is, well, you know, these things, these amendments are for the little people, okay? Something to make you feel good. They don't really mean anything in the real world. Am I right? Okay. No. So, you know, and the lawyers, these pimps that we have, trying to hang our very existence on, these pimps that are out there, what do? They go up and try to argue, you know, and twist the meanings of something that is very straightforward. There's no ambivalence here that I can see whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But funny thing, you don't ask a lawyer, okay, protect you when everything that you have at stake is riding on something that is straightforward as these laws, these amendments, these protections. So that's what we have. Make no bones about it, folks. You have got a real situation here, okay? And it's not going to go away because you don't acknowledge it, okay? Yeah. Forget that old Judeo-Christian adage about, hey, if we don't acknowledge it, it doesn't really exist. Hey, that's what the Bushes of this world, okay, the Rockefellers of this world, the Rothschilds of this world want you to think, because guess who owns all the media to discuss this? They do. All right? I can't make it simpler. They do. They own it. The CIA at the end of Vietnam virtually owned every large major media outlet in this country. And do you think that they stand or tolerate any kind of liberal nonsense or questioning or an interrogation about their own operations? No, of course not. Don't make me puke. Don't make me puke. All right? Jeez, that's what we have here right now. Okay?
Well, Greg, I also promised last week, or the last show, that we would explain what 3%ers are. And I think that this is probably one of the best pictures to show for that. When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. In 1776, the only people, the only amount of people that ever took up arms against government were never more than 3% of the colonists. And that's where the number 3% comes from. And today, the 3%ers see a pattern. You talk about a pattern. You said it twice on this show. This is a definite pattern coming back because we have to protect this country from, outside or from within. And this is their logo that they use. The 13 stars with the Roman numeral 3 for people that don't know. Sometimes you see that on vehicles. And we promised that we'd talk a little bit more about that on the show. So I had to throw that in. But Greg, it's an awesome show once again. And this is number 100. So it's kind of a special type of a wink type of a show. So it's important. And I can't thank you enough for joining as usual.
Well, it's not getting better, folks. It's getting worse. I don't mean to be doom and gloom on your show ever, Luca. Okay.
It's true.
But here's the deal: is it's not being addressed. We're not holding our own representatives' feet to the fire. And that's in a nutshell. We run America. The American people own America. The American people dictate to the politicians. Okay, it hasn't been this way forever. But if you look at the Bill of Rights, quite simply the Bill of Rights, all right, what does it say? It's very clear what the American people have and they're to do. That's it. Return the Constitution. Return the Bill of Rights. And if somebody doesn't like it or, quote, won't be held responsible by a, quote, goddamn piece of paper, guess what? I've got a remedial bit of administration that needs to be set in motion there, okay? Some idiot says that. That's the President of the United States. And believe me, we are capable of having crooks and criminals sitting in the Oval Office. Everybody says, you hear these administrators say, well, we have to respect the President of the United States. Oh, really? When they're behaving this way, as I just described, when they order the bombing of a federal building with specifically targeting children, to murder children, so they can continue with their pimped out, prostituted criminal behavior, psychopathic criminal behavior, forget it. Hey, the press doesn't get any respect from me. No, he works for me. He works for every person in America, and he has to atone to the anger of the American people. That's it. It doesn't get any simpler than that.
That's the way it should be. And I want to finish this show by reminding everybody of how we started this show with the matriarchal system, which is what it has to, everything has to come back to it. Basically, the matriarchal system is Mother Earth itself. So what Mother Earth says, Mother Earth doesn't need humans. So Mother Earth is going to return to the way she should be run, whether humans are there or not. That's totally irrelevant. We're just a cancer to her right now. But if we go back to this, if people think about what this means, respect women, like, basically do the polar opposite of what everything's that's going on today, those are the people that are going to live through what is coming. Because the people that sit there and look at their wallet or they look at their piece of paper or they look at their car or, they're not going to survive because they're not going to know. They're not going to be spiritual enough to understand the spiritual meaning of what's going on. It's a spiritual war is what it is. Just like just like Star Wars or all these other movies.
That's part of the problem. You say it's a spiritual issue. Well, the spiritual issue, of course, is with the people that consider the earth the mother. Now, I remember an interview with some half-wit miscreant by the name of James Watt, okay? And James Watt was head of the Department of the Interior for Ronald Reagan. I remember he had a specific question asked of him, and they said, well, how can you do this? Turn over our parks, turn over everything for pollution and drilling and ravaging. How can you do this? And James Watt got this dreamy look in his eye. And you want to talk about spiritual, albeit Judeo-Christianism, because they were the new neocons. Okay, the neocons were of this mindset. They still are. Those unbelievable imbeciles are this way. But James Watt said, why? None of this matters. With the second coming of Christ, none of this will be relevant. All right? We don't need, clean air. We don't need, the land not to be filled with heavy industry chemicals, heavy metals. Okay? We don't care. Okay? Jesus Christ will make this all right on the second coming.
Right.
And it's one of the few times I've been caught, without a decent response. But how does one respond? I'd like to ask that of my people out there, of our listeners out there.
I'll give you a good response. I keep thinking of that skeleton, that's on the computer, and the skeleton, and then it says, still waiting for the second coming,
Yeah. Right. Well, that's it. But you can't answer a mindset like that. How can you come up with a decent response? Or rhetoric, as they love to say. How can you do that? I can't. Like I say, then again, I'm not nearly as smart as our listeners. I'm only C average, maybe C average intelligence. So I'd like to ask our listeners, how does one respond to a mindset like that? Okay.
Change the page.
Send in suggestions, please. All right. I would like to know how one deals with the ultimate Judeo-Christian response like that of a politician that's elected by the people. How does one respond to an agenda like that? I don't know.
It's mind-boggling, but that's what they want to. Sometimes I think that they actually got together and wrote the Bible in order to say, oh, see, look, it's happening. And what they do is they script the events according to the Bible, and then they can say, oh, look at that, it's coming true. Oh, prophecy. It's a big lie is what it is. And we need to.
I was told, since we have issues right now of war, okay, the drumbeat of war is on your doorstep, folks, okay? And I was told the best way to make sure we can control the drumbeat of war is really simple, by putting people in charge that understand or have been dealt an exposure in life, okay? As in, like, has Donald Trump been to war? Well, have we seen anybody more determined to put America and slaughter American youth like Donald Trump?
Right, okay. Because that's what Rothschild wants, right?
Right, you bet. And Israel, Israel, what can you say? They don't mind slaughtering American children. They don't mind. Look at Iraq. Okay, guess who was behind pulling the strings on Iraq? Okay, now look at George W. Bush. Okay, there's another draft dodger, and he was a draft dodger. Okay,
right,
and he was AWOL. All right, if either one had ever been to war, they know there is nothing glamorous about war in the slightest, in the remotest, to know that you're annihilating people, children, whoever, so you can get your kleptocratic brownie pin. All right?
Yeah.
Kleptocratic. That means a stealing government is what that means. All right. What did we have before? Let me see. Obama. Did Obama serve? Now, as far as I can tell, none of these wars that we're already in, thanks to GW, okay, have even diminished in intensity at all. Okay, they haven't. All right. And now, what is it? I heard the other day that the Ebola, the Ebola virus, is still raging in Africa, but the news is being controlled to where we have a quarterly profit margin driving war, starvation, disease, you name it. Okay, it's the quarterly profit. All right. What is it? The four horsemen of the apocalypse are riding around. Okay, there's four of them. That fits really nicely into the business quarter of big business, doesn't it? Yeah. One horseman per quarter. Okay, that's what we have. Ebola is raging through Africa. Any notice of it? Anybody heard anything about Ebola? I don't think so, and you're not about to, okay? Because Big Pharma is making a lot of money. Big Pharma. Like I said, when the head of the CDC, Center for Disease Control, I think that's what that stands for. I should know. I used to be a pretty good doctor. I should know. Okay. Well, guess what? She was the president of it was just fired. Director of it was just fired for betting on Merck. Merck. Okay. Buying stock in Merck. What does that tell you, people? Remember me, the man with average intelligence is pointing this out. Understand that, okay? Your lives, your children's lives are based on a business quarter. You know, look at the flu, the influenza right now that's ravaging America. Ravaging, okay? I just talked to somebody earlier today, and he said, you know, in his 45 years, he had never seen anything like it. He said he was fine 1 minute, 10 minutes later, he's getting a sore throat. 25 minutes later, he's almost in the hospital. Okay, gee, what can you say about that? Was that a designer disease? You know, brought to you with a airplane spraying the air with aluminum, okay, and all these other bad biological organisms brought to you on a predictable level of transmission. So you can keep that business quarter going, folks, so you can be the main support of a business quarter. All right. Now, is that simple enough for everyone out there listening? For Israel out there listening right now? They're very angry at me, by the way. Okay. For Facebook, okay, that takes public funds in its stock to, you know, to force you, threaten you, intimidate you into not saying anything bad about Israel.
There's that First Amendment again.
Yeah, there's that First Amendment. Well, you know, and is anybody taking Mr. Zuckerberg to task over that? I think they better. Okay, I think they better. I'm watching the case that is near and dear to me. Okay, that I have vested interest in this company. Okay, called CanaSense.
Yes.
Okay, and CanaSense, funny thing. There was they sat down to a board of directors meeting, okay, in the middle of the day, nothing too surreptitious about it, okay, nothing too clandestine, and a fire alarm was pulled, okay, a fire alarm. And funny, the firemen who showed up knew exactly, they weren't concerned about the fire, they weren't even looking for a fire. They went to exactly straight to a room and opened the door without a warrant, anything else, and said, oh, there's medical cannabis here, all right, under the auspices of the corporation of CanaSense. They proceeded to arrest the chairman of the board, okay, the CEO, and he was taken in and booked. He's facing trial now, and this is all product that was prepackaged labeled, ready to go in the U.S. mails with permission, okay, with license. And now the district attorney of New Jersey, gee, imagine a crooked government in New Jersey. What is it? The last 60% of the last group of governors in the state of New Jersey have done time, had to serve time.
Right.
Okay, 60%. All right. Well, in this case, here is CanaSense attempting to do a product under full license, full operation. Nothing was in remiss. And what happens is now it appears that the DA thinks this is such a good investment himself. They're actually prosecuting, trying to get the one defendant in the case to cop a plea, to turn over the material of this company to the district attorney. Okay, so they can make money. All right. Now, this is what the Fourth Amendment is protecting the people against. This kind of corrupt governmental intrusion into the private business sector. Okay, and your home. Okay, no one wants to see somebody from the district attorney's office show up on your doorstep and then command a certain part of your house for as long as they want. All right.
Yeah.
So, and then make you pay for it. Okay, that's what we have. Look that case up right now. CanaSense versus the state of New Jersey. Okay, there it is. Can I make it any simpler for everybody? Look,
Right.
the Bill of Rights. Okay, a nice little quaint piece of paper. Okay, according to that idiot, that imbecile, that moron, George W. Bush. Okay, now I just showed you the greatest annihilation of Americans, human beings, was in the Civil War. Okay, there it is. And what happened? And that relates directly to the amendment, Second Amendment. Okay, so and now we've got schools, and I'm very suspicious about this, as in Las Vegas, okay, as in Sandy Hook, okay,
Yes.
as in Florida, okay. Now, those are all military weapons, correct?
Yeah.
That are being used. All right. Now, how is this being arranged? Okay, I can't go out and buy a AR-15. That's an assault, rifle designed for assault military battlefields. Okay, how I can't get it. Okay.
Well, and Iowa it should be different because I can. They're all over the pawn shop down here.
I mean, our government says any soldier, okay, that has PTSD, imagine a soldier having post-traumatic stress disorder, okay, well, that just doesn't look good. Like somehow our government is doing something wrong to these soldiers that are out there fighting for you people, okay?
Yes.
And the government says, and you can check with the government right now that a person is a soldier or was a soldier that was diagnosed with PTSD, like myself, okay, it's a shoot first, ask questions later for the constabulary if they're dealing with a suspect PTSD victim, okay? And guess what? I can still get a weapon, but believe me, I have to jump through the hoops.
Right.
Okay. Now, and as a result, Sandy Hook, it didn't slow anything down. Okay. And here's why. Sandy Hook was designed to be a provocation. Get that, folks? It was designed to be a provocation. Okay. Our government had its own agent. They weren't even smart enough to take their fake actors. Okay. All the actors that were, what do they call them? Catastrophe actors. Okay.
Yeah, crisis actors.
Charlottesville, all these places. They didn't even have the wherewithal to take those idiots, that were at Sandy Hook, get them off the screen so they could be identified later. They're identified right and left. All right.
They're getting sloppier by the minute. They are. They're getting sloppier by the event that they have.
The Gladio C event. Gladio C is where all of these events were initiated by the US government, CIA, whoever else, all the other super secret bodies, okay, to maintain, first of all, drug dealing in Vietnam. Yes, it was. It was the corridor for getting drugs into the United States. The Caribbean, okay, Afghanistan. Is anybody seeing a pattern here? Okay, yes, we have a pattern here. It's our own government specifically going after these to reserve the right to go ahead and take your property, America.
Greg, thank you so much again. And we'll see you on 101 in 2 days.
Yeah, if Facebook lets us, if Mr. Zuckerberg lets us, if Israel lets us, hey, we'll be back.
We will.
Okay, great. Sounds so good.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. And thank you to the most important people in the world, our listeners.
I'll get it before you again.